Hi, this is Misha.
And this is Jay.
And this is discussion at the range, but not at the range because you guessed it, it rained. I swear, we haven't had rain in like, what, 3 weeks? And when we plan to go shooting, it rains for 3 days straight.
Yep,
so
exactly.
We actually went out and shot for you in the rain, so because we really wanted to bring this comparison. So.
Open. Maybe it's the weight, but it seems like it recoils a little bit more than the... Yep.
What we've got here is the new Czech CZ Bren 2S pistol, and this is the 8-inch version in 5.56. And over there we have my original CZ-805 S1 Bren carbine. That's the 16-inch barrel version, and it's in 5.56. Is really all of those. So we really were excited to get out and shoot these. We also took Jay's CZ-805 PS1 Bren pistol with the 11-inch barrel out, but it's at his place, and so, but you'll see shooting footage. So we shot 3 Brens today, and just kind of curious how they handled together. So what do you think?
Well, like he said, we shot them basically back to back to back, starting with the S2, moving on to my Bren pistol, and then to the Bren carbine. Immediately picking up on the S2, the new Bren, there is a noticeable difference in weight. There is not even almost a comparison in weight. It's so much lighter and handier feeling than the original Bren that it's really undeniable just in handling it for the first time.
And to be fair, what they did, if you can pick that up, the forearm is very similar. This one has some kind of vents, lightning cuts on the sides, but mostly this is about 3 inches shorter. So that took off quite a bit because of the shorter gas system, shorter handguard, and even shorter bolt carrier inside. And that also allows them to use an 8-inch barrel. Like Jay's 11-inch pistol is as short as you can make the Bren 1 because of how far the handguard goes out. And to be fair, this is the 8-inch gun, so it's going to be the lightest out of them, but I don't believe the 11-inch or even the 14-inch pistol weigh that much more because the barrels on these are a relatively thin profile, as you see.
I do think the weight savings comes from the forearm being slimmed down considerably.
Yeah, that's mostly, I think the lower might be a smidge lighter. I think they put a little less steel on these lowers, and I think the bolt carrier, but yeah, it's 90% probably the forearm.
Right. Yeah, I didn't figure the lower would make that much difference. I think it definitely makes some, but I don't think
it's a minor, and even the carrier, I think it matters a little bit.
But handling these side by side, handling the pistol, the original pistol with this current pistol, definitely considerably lighter for the new version. So, what do you think?
First off, I'd say we had 100% reliability out of all of them, which is honestly what you expect. And we tried both brass and steel. I would say that obviously the weight savings was very helpful. I'm trying to think where to start. Obviously this has the brace on it. It's not a folding brace yet. I would say, and this isn't reflecting the gun, I did find this SB3 more comfortable than the brace on your pistol. Mm-hmm. That was more of a thin brace. This one was a little more comfy. So with that out of the way, let's see. I will say the pistol has the same iron sights as the carbine, whereas the Bren 1 comes with more of the Scorpion. Yep. So the sights, and I do believe these have phosphorescent paint in them. chargeable night sights too, which is kind of neat. The pistol grip, moving on. This one's more of a rough texture compared to that one. They both have interchangeable back straps. This one has a little storage compartment. That one, along with the Bren 1 pistol, does not. I'm not sure on the pistol grip. I didn't really notice a major difference. What do you think?
So the main differences on the pistol grip is definitely the shape. So this has kind of this, I think it's a little more swept back in the back here.
That makes, yeah, I would agree looking at this.
Whereas which you would think I think the more swept back grip is typically less conducive to, the very tight, tucked in combat arm position or tactical position that a lot of rifle shooters shoot with. So I think that it's a little bit more, a little more straight down for that kind of grip. The other noticeable thing on it is the texturing is a lot more aggressive on the new version.
Yeah, this definitely feels more modern tactically. That has almost like a classic Bakelite. That's not Bakelite, but it almost has like that classic Yugo Bakelite.
Sure. Very smooth, very comfortable. I actually find the grip to be extremely comfortable.
Me too, yeah.
But not as aggressive texturing. A lot of people will want to go for a more aggressive texturing. It's not textured on the front. The new version is actually textured on the front.
Yep, all around, and it's pretty darn aggressive. I mean, it's not uncomfortably, but yeah, it's just a smidge below grip. I don't think you're going to have trouble. No. And it is ambi. It does have the thumb cut out on both sides.
Yep.
So that should make you happy. The storage compartment is not very big, but some is better than none. Let me see if I can get this open. Yeah, there we go. See there? Enough for a couple of batteries or, small oil vial or sure. Better than nothing. Yep. But they can't make it any bigger because of the back strap thing. Yep. Safety seemed about the same. This one is a polymer. I believe that one's metal. Yep. And this one doesn't stick out as far, which people might like a little more. This one's a little more subdued, but it's a safety.
Sure.
The trigger, I think that's a big one to talk about.
Yeah, so first impression, definitely the trigger on the new Bren is, and again, we're talking about semi-auto experiences here only, but the trigger on the new version has a lot more take-up, and it tends to be it's a plastic trigger as opposed to the metal trigger on the original. So to me, it doesn't feel as good as far as the actual pull goes. One thing I do like about it is the trigger is much wider.
It is, yeah.
The original trigger is, like I said, it's metal. It's very, very narrow, whereas the trigger on the new version is very.
And this has a texture too.
It's got a textured grip to it. So from an ergonomic standpoint, it's a better trigger. I don't think it feels as good as the original's trigger, which had a pretty short take-up and very smooth pull. Actual pull weight, to me, feels about the same. They don't feel that much different. I think it's the kind of plasticky feel of the new one makes it maybe not.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Like a Scorpion Evo 3 trigger that's actually nice, because the Scorpion Evo is plasticky, stiff, yeah. But this isn't as heavy, near. No. But it does have a bit of a stiff take-up, but the brake is very good.
Yep.
It's one of the best plastic triggers I've felt, sure. But maybe it's just I'm a traditionalist. I still like the feel of metal.
Yeah, not to say it's a bad trigger at all. It's still a very nice, very smooth trigger for factory out of the box. Definitely a lot better than factory AR triggers, but I actually do prefer the old trigger. I think a little bit better. Yeah, and and this is really in our first video. The controls are pretty kind of to point that out. It's hard when there's two people. Obviously, we have the non-reciprocating charging handle. It's larger. It's polymer on that. It's reciprocating and just a little metal nubby.
Yeah.
Peg.
Now they both are very easy to switch sides with, which is good. This one has ambidextrous mag release. This has the AR magwell, and it only takes AR mags. There is a little insert. That has the original military magwell, but it came with the AR, so the mag release for both AR magwells just seems the same. The big one people talk about with the Bren 2 is it has a bolt release, and actually it has two. It has one here, and it also has one down here in the trigger guard, whereas the original Bren, both the pistol and carbine, they do have a bolt hold open manually and an automatic, but no release. So that's something that people, along with kind of the non-reciprocating charging handle, would prefer. Me personally, I'm so used to Kalashnikovs and the VZ-58 that
It's not really a deal
nah.
breaker.
I do like the trigger guard kind of switch in here. It's kind of fun to, you know, either to open them, but I don't, it's there, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't, doesn't matter to me, really.
Sure. Well, let's talk about shootability, I guess, and
Yep.
maybe talk about practicality beyond that point.
Well, what do you think on shootability?
My opinion is I think the what do you call it, the S2? Is that what we're going to
Yeah, it's called the 2S on the gun.
2S?
Yeah, but the other one is
2.
yeah.
So for the new Bren, it's
New Bren.
I found it to be a little punchier, which we're talking about 223, a little punchier than my pistol or the carbine. Definitely a lot more muzzle climb. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I think this is, but we can get into it
Sure.
in a minute. What do you think?
I would have to say, first off, the carbine there versus your pistol tend to be about the same as far as how they shoot. Obviously, the carbine maybe a little less muzzle flippy just because of the longer barrel, but it's so close to call that we've shot those side by side multiple times.
Yep.
So the Bren 1 seem about the same. On this gun, I'm going to have to a little bit disagree. I think it does have a little more muzzle flip, but a couple of factors. It has a true flash hider on it, not a muzzle brake, and it is an 8-inch barrel, not an 11 or a 16. But one thing I liked was the bolt carrier being a lighter mass compared to that. I noticed it had a little less of that teeter-tottering from having a lighter mass bouncing back and forth inside. So I found while it wanted to climb a little more, it didn't have as much oscillation or vibration. I don't know what to call it. I found it very pleasant. I'm not a big shorty, gun person. I like longer barrels, but this was actually quite fun.
Yeah, for me, I think where the difference between the new Bren and the old Bren comes into play, especially with the pistol, is the weight. Because again,
this feels like a pistol.
This is so much lighter that I can decidedly see where a lot of that weight with the original pistol combined to, I think, a lesser extent with the muzzle brake, and I'll explain that in a second. I think that weight just absorbs a lot of the recoil, so it's just every time you pull the triggers, it's just your target, your reticle, if you're aiming down a scope of some sort, just doesn't move. It just stays on target every time you pull the trigger. It just stays on target. This I found aiming down the sights, the iron sights, shooting at a very short range. I was getting a lot of muzzle jump with every shot, but again, this is so much lighter that I think that accounts for a lot of it. Now, on the muzzle brake side, there is a muzzle brake on my pistol, and I'm sure you'll be able to see that.
Yeah, it's the factory one.
It is the factory muzzle brake. His carbine has this is a Czech
military flash
hider,
and this is the new military flash hider on this. So these are both flash hiders.
Sure. But shooting the carbine with the flash hider side by side with the pistol with the muzzle brake, there is almost no difference in recoil.
However, there is that concussion.
Yeah, now there's tons of concussion. Yeah, absolutely. But as far as just like muzzle climb, recoil impulse, I don't think the muzzle brake makes such an extreme difference that putting a muzzle brake on this would make it the same as the old pistol, because I think where you're getting most of the recoil reduction is in the weight of the pistol.
And the weight's out front, which draws to be fair. That kind of leads me into sort of what my final point on this would be I think that the new version with the weight decrease, with the addition of the controls, the thought process on the ergonomics, and with the non-reciprocating charging handle, the fatter charging handle, I think even with the increased recoil and
some of the things like we talked about that we didn't like as much, like the trigger. I think that this is a lot more usable gun. I think from a practicality standpoint, I would far rather lug this around than the original pistol, just because the weight is so much better. You still have the incredibly smooth bolt travel, and then the
it's still a very respectable trigger.
Very fine trigger, excellent reliability. I love the platform. I love the old platform. I think the new platform is going to be awesome. I plan on, personally, since I already have the pistol of the original, I'll plan on waiting on getting the carbine whenever it's available. Because I kind of waffled a little bit on getting a carbine of the original anyway. And now that this is close to on the horizon, I'll just wait and grab a carbine.
And I'm kind of in the opposite, because I have a carbine but not a pistol, so I think we're both of the same mindset. We kind of want one pistol and one carbine in the Bren family. It's just we're doing it in reverse, which is good. It means we'll kind of have the whole... We'll both have a Bren 2 and a Bren 1 carbine and a Bren 2 and a Bren 1 pistol.
I think if you have an original Bren and you love it, it's absolutely worth keeping. It's worth having.
I'm not getting rid of mine.
No, I'm not getting rid of my pistol. I love it. It's so much fun to shoot. Like I said, it just doesn't move every time you pull the trigger. It's awesome. But this also carries a lot of the smoothness and the general build quality, but in a more lighter, more usable package. So I think it'll be worth. Personally, I absolutely, like I said, I plan on buying a carbine when it comes out. I think they'll definitely be worth checking out when they're more available next year. I
would give a couple more things. The original Bren 1 pistol and carbine have a 2-position gas regulator, basically for standard and adverse when dirty. This has the standard here, it has adverse, and it has a 3rd position for suppressors, and it's threaded 1/2 by 28. So if you have a suppressor, the Bren 2 is probably a little better for you. Also, these come with this end plate that's already threaded for AR-15 buffer tubes. In fact, you can get them with this SB3 or without, depending on what you want. So you don't have to buy a separate adapter, which is nice. But I will end on saying these right now, as of September 2018, are expensive. Retail price, because only one distributor got them. For more information on that, see our first video. So they are upwards of $2,000. They're in the 17 to 19 range, depending on which version. Whereas the Bren 1 pistol has dropped to $1,200 or so. So the Bren 1, as of right now, is quite a bit cheaper.
Right.
But you do have to buy the adapter for the brace, so that's going to tack on a little extra money, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, either gun to us is... We've been preaching on the Bren for pretty much since the very first time we shot one.
Since I got bored that day at Bill's and bought one. Yeah.
And I thought you were crazy.
Yeah, you did. I did too, but I was bored.
And between that and... I mean, like I said, they're just extremely good guns. The originals are extremely good. Really love shooting them. We'll continue to shoot and own them.
Oh yeah,
and
just like the VZ-58, we both have those. I mean, Czech guns are just.
But the new Bren coming out, I think overall it's a move in the right direction, and I think it's a good option if you've been holding out and waiting for the new version to come out. You still have a little bit of a wait, but...
Yeah, and this is kind of the proto version. This is basically a semi-auto military. The CZ has listened to a few things that people would like, and the one that's going to be released next year is going to have a few more things more in line with the U.S. market.
Yeah.
So we're not exactly sure. There's been rumors, but it might be a little more what people are wanting, because this one does have some kind of residual military features that may not be. For example, this flash hider, it's neat, but it's not really a fancy pants brake. They're maybe going to put something a little more like suppressor ready on there, things like that. Maybe a different grip styling, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's neat. We've had a lot of fun. In fact, we went out again in the rain to do this because we were so eager to try these out.
Worth it.
Yeah, definitely worth it. 100% reliability, no issues, and hopefully no rust in a couple of days. But it doesn't look like there's much parts compatibility, even though they're basically the same chassis. I did try swapping the lowers and the end plates. They are close, but just a little bit off, so we're not sure how many things intended for the original Bren will fit the Bren 2. Time will tell. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
They, look, there's one more thing I wanted to mention, but I'm trying to think what it was right now. But no, they're really neat guns. And for a little more info, check out our first video on the Bren 2. And if you'd like to hear more of how this series came to be, you can check out our Bren 1 history. I remember what I was going to say now. This is, honest to God, a great option. If you've been looking at an FN Scar, especially 16, these are still cheaper even at the introductory price than a Scar 16. And boy, I don't know what a Scar offers that this doesn't. That might get me lambasted in the comments. I know Scars are iconic, and I've definitely bought guns, G36, that really aren't the best, but they're iconic. So I totally get wanting a Scar for that. But if you're just wanting a gun like that, but a little cheaper, you really should look into the Bren.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it has a lot going for it.
From what I've seen, pictures of the new Bren, the one with the original buttstock.
Yeah.
It looks so much like a Scar. It's almost indistinguishable. At a distance. So I think that's kind of why I'm kind of holding off for the carbine version. Is I want that stock. So I hope that's what they bring me.
And if you buy one of the pistols and want a SBR, the stock will fit right on the back here. And if you buy like an 8-inch here, like I've done, and want an 11, which is really what I want, these do have the removable kind of, I wouldn't call it quick change, but easily non-gunsmith required removable. In fact, they even come with the wrenches to do it in the cleaning kit. Yeah. So they do have swappable barrels.
Yep. Cool. It's a little nice surprise.
Yeah, this literally came out of nowhere to everyone. Again, for that, check out vid 1. But yeah, we haven't done a discussion at the range. So again, just pretend like there's a green screen behind us and we're at the range, and it's a beautiful day, 65, 70 degrees. But we did get out and shoot. So I think now we're gonna go dry our guns off more. And so if you have any questions or comments, we'll do our best to answer them. But keep in mind, we just got this gun. And then we've had a lot of trigger time with the Bren 1, so we can do that. But we'll keep talking to you about the Bren 2 as we try it out this year.
Yep.
Any final thoughts?
No, not really. I think that pretty much does it for me. It's early time with this. We've still got more trigger time, but again, we love taking these guns out so much, it probably won't take us very long to get.
No, as soon as we can, we're going to get down to the rifle range and test them for accuracy. But so far, for reliability, steel, brass, no problems, no hiccups, held open every time. Controls seemed good.
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. If you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to our Patreon page. And also check out our playlist for other videos. We've got one specifically on the Bren. So there's that. This is Misha.
And this is Jay.
And we will catch you next time.
See ya.